Hey guys, it's Matt. Welcome to SpeedTutor, and today I'm going to show you a very special plugin which is going to integrate all the best photo manipulation properties in one place, and this includes creating pixel art with pixel perfect graphics. You could do blending, full layer styles, all things with the most common tools that you can find in applications like Photoshop, whether you need to paint, erase, blend, clone, be able to manipulate in transforms, fill, and all the great stuff. It even has experimental features like creating PBR maps for normal maps, heights, metallics. It's got a full layer system. You can do masking and so many things, and it can be your very own Photoshop directly inside Unity. I've not been paid to make this video, but I've been wanting to help this developer out because I think it's an awesome asset. And over the past few months, I gave 100 suggestions, and he's added every single one and always constantly trying to add more. So if there's anything you're missing at all in the program, send him an email, and if you have any issues, he'll get back to you in lightning speed. It gives me a run for my money. So you can see Pixel Harmony here on the Unity Asset Store, and it's compatible with built-in URP and HDRP. It uses a new input system, the burst compiler, and loads of advanced features to get this to work. So you can import this into your project and just open it in Unity. When you import it into Unity, you must remember that it will want to use the new input system if it's not enabled, and just click yes when it pops up. Once you've restarted the editor, you will get this pop-out window. You can go to the website, README, documentation, forums, and all that good stuff. You want to choose the Unity version that you're using. So I'm using 2022 and above. So I'm going to import the assets for this version. And then once you've imported those, you can close that. If you go to Tools, Pixel Harmony, you may not have an option to launch the window, so you may need to restart the editor if that's the case. So now once I've restarted, I can go to Tools, Pixel Harmony, and press Launch. When I launch it, it pops out like any other application would. And these are just some projects that I'd already started. This window can be moved like any other window in Unity. You can actually have it full size if you want, or you could choose to dock it wherever you wish. So you can just grab and dock wherever you want, but keep my project panel visible just so I can import any assets and use them if I need to. You could also create yourself a layout in the top corner if you need to. In this case, I can create myself file new, just like you can expect. It does have a maximum resolution on the canvas of 4096 resolution, but it does have some presets for creating pixel art or maybe a full HD resolution. You can have whether it's transparent, and you can just press create, and it opens up our canvas like this. Or in my case, I've just dragged in some images that I might want to use and other projects that were used before. So I need to make sure that I want this character to be a 2D sprite and UI because I want it to be transparent. And then what you could actually choose to do is choose to open, and then you can choose to open something in your project already. So in this case, I might want to just import this character. I can close my previous one, and I've got my character here. I can zoom in and out on the canvas using Alt and the scroll wheel, or Control and plus and minus on the keyboard. And then we've got our normal controls, which you would expect. So we've got just the move tool. We can press T to have transform and be able to snap that. And we can scale things up and down. You can have the non-uniform snapping, or you can choose the uniform snapping by holding Shift, things like that. Exactly what you'd expect from other programs. We've got the paintbrush tool, where you can affect the brush size, and we can paint over depending on the actual colors we've chosen. And it's got settings for changing the brush style depending on what we might want to use. We've got the eraser tool, as you can expect, does exactly what it says on the tin. We can Control Z as you would normally. And if you do need to affect that, you can go to Edit, and you go to Preferences, and then you can go to Performance and choose History States to increase that if you like a lot of undos, but of course it's going to affect performance throughout. We've got the clone stamp, and if you're used to Photoshop, you'll know about a lot of these tools. You can press Alt to select a piece of the image, and then left click, and you'll be able to paint. We've got the manual zoom tool, which does for fitting screen, 100% fill screen, depending on what we need, but I like to use my mouse to do that. We've got the crop tool, so you can crop the entire canvas if you want. The transform tool, like I've just shown you. This perspective tool, where you can change and shift the look of the perspective, which is something by default in Photoshop, but it's good to have the tool. It's got the rotate tool if you need it just by itself. A shape tool to be able to create a bunch of shapes, whether that's rectangle, ellipse, triangle. So we can just create different styles and control those. And there is a full layer system, so you'll be able to select, hide, and adjust layers depending on what you have there. And you can create new layers at the bottom. And then you can do masking, creating new layers, and doing selections of layers at the bottom. And we can choose, if we've got a new layer, to be able to fill them. We can do the same things. We can choose the dots to either duplicate, create masks, or remove, depending on what you want to use. So I wanted to remove these things. Then we've got the eyedropper tool, the burn tool to create that adjustment and adjust opacities. We have the dodge tool and the sponge tool. Not that I particularly use these three, but it's always good to have more options. Now, we can just add new images. I can just drag images straight onto the canvas and I can choose to import. We can move layers up and down like that, so my object is above. We have a selection of filters to be able to blur, stylize, render, distort, and even create generations for PBR maps if we've already got them. And I will give you an example of that a little bit later. Even things like sharpen and smart sharpen, and there's loads and loads of stuff to show. In this case, I just wanted to say that in the filter, we can go to blur, Gaussian blur. I can up the intensity very slightly if I just wanted a blur in the background to make my character more prominent. We can make a duplication of that layer. If I wanted to do something like I could go image, and then there's a full set of adjustments to be able to choose whether I want to change the color, the brightness, the exposure, or if I go back to filter and I go to the render and then I go to, say, a color fill. In this case, depending on what color I choose, I can have this as a fill. I could press apply and say I've got this layer which I could grab and move down. I could go to T to scale this out slightly. If I wanted maybe a shadow for my character as just a pure example, and we have ability to increase or decrease the opacity depending on how we want that to look in our scene. And you can just save this as native files, so you save it as a project, or you can export this as PNG, JPEG, or Targa, depending on what you would like as the resolution, and to be able to save this straight into your project for you to use, whether you need to edit sprites or otherwise. And if I go to open, and I just open something else where I show you the pixel art here, which is some pizza, and if you enable the pixel perfect option, and also you have snapping, and if we select the paintbrush, we can select our set of brushes, whether I just want something more of a soft brush, and I turn the brush size really far down, and we'll be able to add elements to our pixel art by adding new segments to it, depending on what we want to create. I was just showing you a really quick example. You also have the ability to create your own brushes within it. So you can go to Window and you can go to Brush Creator, and then you can do save or duplicate. You can change brush settings by selecting any of the default specific brushes and customizing flow, effects, jitter, and you can actually use pen pressure within this app. So if you're an artist who uses a tablet or something like that, this is totally suitable as well. Now I want to just open up my house image here because I said you could create PBR textures in it. You can go to Filter, Generation, Experimental, and you can choose things like AO, height, metallic, normal, and smoothness. So let's say we wanted to create ourselves a normal map of this image here. If we were going to put this on a wall, maybe as a picture or something like that, then you could use the shape recognition to bring out the detail of it. You can increase the strength or adjust the strength. It's not the best image to be able to create a normal map out of it, but you can choose to invert the X or the Y if you need to make adjustments to that. Or then if we go to filter again, we go to generation, and we can go to something like a metallic map if you need to use that for a PBR workflow. And there's a load of different options to be able to create various maps. If you just have, say, a brick wall or a particular tiled surface, you could be able to create some of that in here without ever leaving Unity. And you'd be able to do your basic levels of manipulation in this app without ever navigating away. And there is more things planned to be added even in the coming update, which will be very soon, and even in the future. You've got any suggestions, do send him an email because he'd really like the help, because he wants to make this really awesome. And it's already got a suite of tools which are fantastic for art-related developers. So I hope you like this. You'll check it out. It is 50% off for the next week. So if you do want to have a look, I'll leave the link in the description. And do be sure to also check out my Patreon to get over 200 different scripts, assets, and projects you cannot find anywhere else. I'll leave a full list of all the assets on my Patreon down below too. Do be sure to check out all the links in the description for the best sales and savings for this month. and check out all my great assets on my website with massive savings, with over 30% off compared to the Unity Asset Store. So thank you so much for all my patrons. A big thank you to Peter Steiner and everybody else who comes to watch the video. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Cheers.